Holy shnikes. So listen, Mike, this is not a difficult one to read the tea leaves. Like, these personalities were always different. I said when Tom went to Tampa, the cultures are different. One, Boston, sports, politics, obsessed, prep schools, intense, academic, lousy weather, workaholics, the great history. The other, Ybor City, baby, cocktails early. So I always thought, and I said this, I said, Tom it's the football's not the problem. It's the cultural gap that he's going to have to get used to. Like, he's going to have to train this team to be obsessed. Remember the helicopter pictures at the high school? I'm like, okay, he's getting there. He's getting there. But this feels like, and probably the term sounds too intense, a little bit of a power grab, older coach, obsessed quarterback. Tom went to Tampa for two things: weapons and control. He got one right out of the chute. He didn't get the other, and he wanted it. Is that fair?
Okay, listen. First of all, let's assess. Let's step back. They had two pretty good years together, right? They won a Super Bowl, went to Lambeau, albeit fanless Lambeau, but won in the cold at Lambeau and then killed the Chiefs. And then this year, one of my favorite Brady games ever, if not my favorite, and I wrote about this when he retired for a while. But, he's down 27-3, and we all know about 28-3 and all the crazy things that had to happen there. But this was, to me, equally epic. And yeah, there was a coverage breakdown at the end, and Cooper Kupp made a play, and the Rams did win that game. But, what he did in that last game was incredibly hard. And maybe if they get that to overtime and win, who knows what would happen. So 2 great years. And look, I don't want people to oversimplify and go, man, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians. I mean, was it a perfect match? Of course not, but way better match than Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, personality-wise. And that one lasted, 20 years? And obviously they did incredible things together. So I think if you gave Tom Brady truth serum and said, would you rather play another year with Bill Belichick or Bruce Arians, he would laugh and be like, please, BA, it's great. But I don't think it's I think more just, the control thing I don't think was an issue in terms of the offense. I think based on what Bruce Arians told me that first year, he told Tom, let's run what you want. Let's put your stuff in. And he kind of stepped back a lot, and they ran Brady's offense for better or worse, and obviously for better in terms of the results. I just wonder, if I think that, you could look to the Antonio Brown thing, for example, right? Bruce Arians had it with Antonio Brown in that moment. And maybe a younger coach who is less my way or the highway would have massaged that. I actually don't know. I'm kind of on BA's side on that one. But, maybe things like that, Tom Brady would think, hey, we could be a little less reactionary here. BA grabbed his own guy. So there's some old school moments. But I honestly think it's an oversimplification to just go, well, Tom needed to get rid of Bruce Arians. That's a terrible match.
I'm a simple guy. I do think when you, having moved 4 or 5 times in my career, I never get everything I want initially. I tend to get it later based on success of the show. And I think Tom got a lot of what he wanted early, but I do think they're 2 different personalities. One is obsessed. One's loosey-goosey. He's a little more, it's like certain presidents. I remember when Obama was president, they're like, he was a readaholic. George Bush was seat of the pants. And that's their style. And I'm not here to judge, but Bruce, even when Bruce took the CBS job, I know people in television, he's kind of a let it rip guy.
Yeah.
Whereas, other guys, Collinsworth is more of a study film all week and come in. And that's okay. But I do think it can cause sometimes, if not rifts, if not resentment, it's different. Tom kind of wants you to care as much as him. Bruce cares, but his dad, Tom's dad, has often, in Tom's view, inappropriately said things. And Tom's like, Dad, stop talking. He came out 3 weeks ago and said, yeah, he didn't want to retire. There's other factors here. Well, is maybe this one of the factors? I mean, Bruce Arians never wanted to work in the front office, did he? That's not Bruce.
I mean, he tried TV. I don't think he loved it. I know for a fact he didn't love it. His crew, his group loved him. They had great, nights before the game, and that was a blast. But let's step back for a second and just look at it organizationally. So, if you believe that the Bucs forced him out, which I don't, but if you do believe that, if you're like, hey man, Tom Brady was going to walk away and they chose him over Bruce Arians, okay, let's compare that to Seattle. And in Tampa, you have a quarterback who is the most accomplished ever, but he's 1,000 years old. He's 45. No one has ever done this at this level. It could all drop off tomorrow. Once you start talking about retirement, it's in your head. Physically, it could go wrong immediately. Peyton was a steep cliff, let alone the injury, a lot of things could end. So it wouldn't be a smart organizational choice if you love Bruce Arians to say, I'll do anything for the 45-year-old quarterback, albeit the most accomplished of all time. Now, let's compare that to Seattle, where Jody Allen, who we never hear from her because she's a zillionaire and apparently doesn't think the fans deserve to ever hear from the acting owner or, head of the estate or whatever you want to call her, which I think is gutless, but be that as it may. Jody Allen essentially said, okay, I've got a 33-year-old quarterback who wants to play till he's 45 or 50, Russell Wilson, who doesn't think it's going great with my 70-year-old coach, albeit a very accomplished one. You know what? I'm choosing the 70-year-old coach over the 33-year-old quarterback. So if Jody Allen would actually give an interview, I would ask her, is that really what you did? You really, respectfully, because I love Pete, but you chose a quarterback with lots of time left who you can't really replicate. You chose to get rid of him and keep a coach who probably won't coach that much longer. Conversely, I don't think the Bucs actually did this, but if the Bucs did choose between Brady and Arians, they chose a quarterback who's maybe going to be done in 10 seconds over an older coach.
Well, I don't think, I think Tom has always been privately intense, but I don't think he's a line in the sand guy.
Right.
My takeaway is Tom got very frustrated multiple times in the last 6 or 7 weeks. He dropped these hints. You really got to focus here. We're not focused. And I think what happens is it's almost like, Mike, if you date somebody. So let's just say Tom, Bruce, they date. First year, ooh, it's intense. It's intense. Wow, we got a relationship. But they're different people. And then by year 2, the little cute annoying problems are now just annoying and not cute. And now the Rams beat you. And you think, in our place, and it wasn't that they lost to the Rams. Twice, they didn't look prepared. Went to LA, not competitive. First half at home, not competitive.
By the way, Jared Goff and the Rams rolled them 2 years ago for what it's worth on national TV.
So 3 times, young boy genius, old seat of the pants guy. And I think the way they lost at home is, come on, man, we're not ready to play. That was Tom's complaint about week 13 on. We're not committed. We're not focused. I think we would both acknowledge Arians and Brady are different dudes. Okay, whatever. But I do think stuff that you in life with success think is annoying but cute, that stuff wears on you when you lose.
I could accept all of this if he hadn't put up with something I know that bothered him more for 20 years. And maybe all 20 years weren't constant bother, but the last 5 years of Brady and Belichick were a lot, from the Malcolm Butler sudden benching and the be free, posts. And I mean, I know how unaligned they were, and I know how bothersome Belichick could be. And people rightfully put up with a lot of it because he's unbelievable and his teams are prepared. And I see what you're saying. That's a line in the sand. I just want one little note. Perceived lack of preparedness of late season games in Florida certainly tilted the NFL landscape if you count the Colts-Jaguars game and Carson Wentz and Jim Irsay's reaction to that.
Well, let's go back to this. In New England, Tom was bothered, but he couldn't get out.
Right.
Okay. There's a lot of things I'm bothered with, but if I have a 5-year contract, there's nothing I can do. Right. Tom in Tampa now can get out.
Right.
And did. I'm out.
Right.
Then he circles back, almost a warning shot to Tampa. Guys, I'll hang it up, and you don't have a quarterback.
Right.
You don't have anything.
Right.
And then I don't think it's ugly. I think Jason and Tom talked privately multiple times. Tom's like, listen, we won. I want to come back, but I want what I want. And I don't think it was ugly. I don't think they're going to pass each other in the hall. But I always have this kind of feeling, if shit looks weird, it is weird. Okay, Tom is the most detailed player in our lives.
Right.
Suddenly retires and then unretires. It's like, what? That is the least planned thing ever. And then Arians.
Although he might be second to Peyton in most detailed. I gotta give Peyton that.
But that move was way off brand. Something wasn't right here. We can acknowledge that.
Well, I agree with you that when stuff looks weird, it usually is. I do know from having been around this game for so long that there are very human emotions at play, and sometimes things surprise us, like Aaron Donald talking to Rodney Harrison about maybe stepping away the day before the Super Bowl, or Andrew Luck actually stepping away, or
right.
Ali Marpet, Brady's teammate, really did step away. So it's a very physically grind of a game. It's a physical grind of a game. It's an emotional grind. And I just know, even journalistically, like, there wasn't a season that has ended where it's so intense, where there's not a thought like, can I do this anymore? Everyone thinks about it. Everyone needs to get away and take a break. And so I do think, especially someone of Brady's age and a quarterback, I remember Kurt Warner telling me when he stepped away, he said, it wasn't that I didn't think I could physically do it. It wasn't that I don't think I'm good enough to be at that level. It's that the way things are set up here, Arizona, by the way, later Bruce Arians came in, but the way things are set up here, I have such a level of responsibility as the franchise quarterback on and off the field to make it work every single week, every single game, that's too much for me to do again. And I'm paraphrasing, but It was the specter of being that guy and in his view, holding that organization together. And so that's similar to what Brady does all the time, right? He's in control of all of it. And so I do think it's possible that there are human emotions where Tom Brady was like, man, I just don't know. And then he changed his mind. And then Bruce Arians, possibly, who is an intuitive guy and probably understands a lot of that dynamic, said, you know what, man, we won a Super Bowl. We had a second year where we made a run. I'm older. I do care about not only succession plans, but the minority coaching issue. And that's something that is really important to him. And maybe it's going to be best organizationally if I could just hand it to Todd and let Tom go out with him. And I do think those things are possible too.
Todd was interesting in New York because he's not a self-promoter.
No.
And I don't know if he's a great head coach. He is a great coordinator.
Great coordinator.
And like Brady, highly aggressive. Like he's aggressive. Like
yes.
He wants an attacking defense, and
yes.
Brady is his brand. Everything's aggressive. So that's one thing with Arians and Brady that always felt right. Like Bruce
yes.
is an attacker. Brady's an attacker.
Correct.
Bowles is an attacker.
Yes.
So, it's one of these things where Dungy didn't have a big self-promoting persona. He wasn't a control freak. Dungy's
right.
not a control freak. He let Peyton have the offense. My first thought was, this is going to be a Dungy Peyton Manning, is that Todd doesn't care about control. Todd wants to win games.
Yeah.
Is that he and Brady, even though I like offensive coaches in 2022 over defensive coaches, it's got a Dungy Peyton feel to it, where I'll take this side. I respect you. We'll meet on Wednesday to discuss the game plan. But I think it could work because Todd is just into what Todd's into. Your takeaway.
Well, first of all, I'm excited for Todd because let's juxtapose his two opportunities. And I covered him as a player. He's a very smart guy, great temperament. Yeah. But opportunity one, hey, you're coming to New York. Your quarterback just got punched in the nose and is out. Geno Smith, literally in Todd's first year, got punched in the nose by a teammate and was out. So that's what you're walking into there. We certainly know there were other things going on organizationally, and they actually did really well that first year with Ryan Fitzpatrick, and probably gave some false hope and probably tried to prop it up a little bit. But wow, you walk into it's New York. Your quarterback got punched in the nose, and now you have to figure it out. And now you're walking into Tom Brady's gonna, he and Byron, they got the offense handled, and all you got to do is, be that overarching head coach leader type. And by the way, keep doing what you're doing on defense. So it's a great opportunity for Todd if Brady can stay healthy and stay at his level, which is always a caveat for me at 45 and counting. But it's exciting for Todd Bowles. You wonder with Brady, I know he has so much respect for Byron, and it looked like Byron was going to leave, for a while to get that Jacksonville job. And you wonder if Byron had left, what would they be doing? And, then you think of a guy like Bill O'Brien, who's sitting there in Alabama, who Brady has such a great relationship with and thinks so highly of. And I know Jason Light and Bill O'Brien go way, way back. So then you wonder if you could do it according to Brady's perfect specifications, would you somehow try to get Bill O'Brien over there to be part of what they're doing on offense?